All right, so I think, can everyone hear me right now? Having some nods, thumbs up, awesome. Great, so we're gonna get started. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're gonna click record and we have our amazing panelists here ready to meet you all. So let me click record right now. All right. So as we get started today, we just want to welcome you all to our first marketing panel partnered with the Trio Partnership of Now Spoke. So we're super excited to have you here today. We're going to be covering a few sections here. We're going to have our panelists introduce themselves. We're going to have a discussion with some awesome questions focused on marketing, and we're going to have some time for open Q&A. So I know we have a mix of different students that are part of Trio, some Now Spoke community members, and so we're really excited to have them meet you all. So let's just get started. So I'm going to bring up our first speaker to introduce themselves. So Francesca, I'll bring you up first, and we'll just love to hear a quick intro, you know, where you are based, your pronouns, what you do today, and maybe a fun fact as well. So Francesca, I'll bring you to the stage.
Hi everyone, my name is Francesca Baduino. So I'm currently an Associate Commercial Marketing Manager at T-Mobile. I've actually been at T-Mobile for over 8 years, and in this specific role, 2 years. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. And I actually was originally an advertising major and then found my way into product innovation. Fun fact about me. My minor in college was dance, and so I know how to do West African dance, ballet, salsa. I love to dance. And yeah, looking forward to meeting you all and answering your questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to bring Megan to the stage. Welcome, Megan.
Ooh, am I still muted?
Nope, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Amazing. Oh, I thought I was muted. Well, hello. I'm Megan. I'm Astoria. I take she, her pronouns. I went to Harvard and I graduated in 2019 and I studied history and literature. Currently, I am an associate product marketing manager at Google. It was my first job out of college, so I've been here for about 1.5 years, and I currently work on the creative brand and media team. I'm based in the Bay, currently kicking it in Minnesota, which is where I'm from. And a fun fact about me is that I really love musical theater. So I've been performing in plays and musicals and productions since I was 6 years old. So love just performing. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. So we got some folks that like dance, performative art. This is really awesome. It's a good mix of folks. All right, I'm going to bring Priscilla to the stage. Welcome. All right, I think you're on mute, but definitely done this before. We can hear you now.
Here you go. I think that should be good. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and thank you so much for the Now Spoke team for putting this together. My name is Priscilla Tangara, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm currently product marketing manager at Celix, based in Berlin, but I spent most of my life growing up in California. I went to University of California in Irvine, where I studied sociology and international studies. A fun fact about myself, through the pandemic, I've picked up TikTok, and in my free time nowadays, I partner with brands to create cooking videos, which has gotten over 4 million engagements for the last 6 months. So I've been obsessed with TikTok since then.
Awesome. Priscilla, what's your favorite TikTok trend? Just curious. Oh, you're on mute.
There it is. Is that better? I'm sorry about that. I think my favorite TikTok trend has been the potato recipes. I think that's like the niche I'm in. All the videos that go viral are when I cook potatoes, and partially when I was looking through my analytics, I have a very German-based audience since I'm based there. And potatoes is one of the most common staples in Germany. So I find that a lot of new trends come up within that niche, and that's been the latest craze within my feed.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so we're going to bring up Rennie to the stage. So here you go. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for, oh, am I unmuted? Okay, good. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Rennie. I go by he or him. I was born and raised in a small city in Canada called Calgary. I went to university there. Never ever thought I'd ever leave Calgary. And now I actually run, I'm the head of marketing at a early stage startup called Vowel. We are actually a video collaboration platform, so that's why I'm very confused with Teams. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I studied finance in university, and a fun fact about me is I actually grew up, I mean, shocker, Canadian. I grew up playing ice hockey, and that's what I thought I was going to be.
Very cool. Yeah, so welcome all the amazing panelists we do have here. Super cool to see everyone's backgrounds. We have very unique different experiences that are mentioned and hobbies even that are really interesting to hear about. So with that, we're gonna just start with our very first question. So I'm gonna just put it up on the stage. This may be a throwback for a couple of you here, just really reflecting on, you know, what did you major in college and how did you pick? And I think the reason why we brought up this question is we do have a lot of students who, you know, are kind of discovering what type of, you know, college path do they want to take. So personally for myself, I've always struggled to figure out like, what does a college major mean? And how do you even go about like picking that? And so I'm gonna just kick this over to Francesca to start us off, and I'll bring the other speakers up on the stage. So Francesca, feel free to give us your thoughts on this.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say it's really difficult for someone to be 18 to determine what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I want to first start by saying, if you change your major, that is okay. I probably changed my major probably 3 or 4 times until I finally landed on advertising. I actually, when I first started university, I thought I was going to be a journalist because my vision of journalists was that these are really cool people that get to travel the world, write stories about people, and that's what they do for a living. And when I got accepted into the journalism school and realized that's not really what journalists do, some do that, but it's a different kind of lens. I realized it wasn't the right career for me, and that can happen, right? And I knew that I was very creative in nature, and I wanted a career where there was storytelling involved because I love to write, and I discovered advertising. And advertising essentially lets you use storytelling and use also the marketing aspect of selling a product and combining together, right? And creating a really thoughtful campaign and story of, you know, what a product has to offer and, you know, what it benefits to the consumer and why the consumer should buy your own product. And honestly, I fell in love. I started reading books about Bill Bernbeck, who's like the father of modern advertising, and just went all in on advertising. But it was really a journey for me because I started out thinking journalism. At one point, I thought dermatology. I thought I was going to go to med school. I thought about psychology, you know, and I finally landed into advertising. And so if you don't know at age 18, that's okay. Have faith that you'll kind of discover what it is that you like doing, and eventually you'll stumble into what you're meant to do, right? And also know that what you major in college might not be what you end up doing in real life, right? Now I work in product innovation, which is a little bit different than advertising, but I know my strengths and I know that I'm very creative. And what's cool about that is that you can apply it in different aspects of marketing. So just my advice is be open. It's okay if you change around majors and also your career. That's I think a natural part of the process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Francesca. Really great to hear your perspective on that. I think there are folks here that also kind of dabbled around and changed their majors 1 or 2 times. So Megan, I would love to also hear your perspective on this as well. So let's bring Megan to the stage.
Yes, and I think, yes. You guys can all hear me, right?
It's a little bit quiet on our end. You may want to go a little bit closer to the mic.
Yes, here. Is that better?
Yes, you're good. Crystal clear.
Okay, so yeah, my college, similar to Francesca, my college major decision was a little bit all over the place. I actually came into college thinking I was going to study econ because I knew I was like, you know what, I want to go into business, and the way, because Harvard is liberal arts, so we don't have like a business major or business school for undergrad to take. I was like, I'll just study econ, like that's what makes sense to go into business. So I suffered through about like a year and a half of these econ classes that I hated. I was literally in classes like, oh my gosh, like, is this a sign that I'm not gonna go into business? Like, I think I like it, but I don't know. And I ended up kind of randomly taking a history and literature class. And when I took it, I fell in love with it. And I just realized like, this is what I have to do. And I think at a certain point, I take a step back and assess like, okay, I want to study econ, but it's literally making me miserable. I can still do business if I pursue something that I'm more interested in and kind of really trust my gut and hope that things would work out. I will say I do have immigrant parents. So when they found out I was studying history and literature, my parents were like, oh, great, you're going to graduate with no job and live in our basement, which is not a bad thing, but they were just like concerned that I would be unemployed after studying the humanities. And so, I mean, I work at Google right now. So clearly I'm not living in my parents' basement, unemployed. So my thoughts on that is just honestly trust your gut and really go towards what pulls you. Because I didn't like econ and I loved history and literature. And at a certain point I was like, I don't want to be miserable in all of my classes. I want to start taking and explore things that, you know, like storytelling, dealing with people. I love reading. And that was just the route that ended up being the best for me. So, yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much, Megan. That's really interesting. I guess one question that's following up what you mentioned that is kind of on my mind is how did you kind of go and navigate kind of being able to try different things? Was it mentors that you've had? Was it just you wanting to try new things? What really pushed you to go and try those new things?
Yeah, like with majors and such, or?
Yes, particularly majors.
Yeah, so I'm like kind of nerdy. I love research, and I think research can take so many different forms, right? It could literally just be reading course descriptions. Like I would go through all the online courses for history and literature classes and econ classes and sociology classes and see what class do I actually think that's interesting. I also had a lot of mentors who were like older than me in college, people who had graduated. That was also super helpful. And I went to all these different office hours with professors because I'm like, I want to get the tea. Like, what is it really like to be in this department? So I was basically trying to pull insights and just talk to a lot of different people to figure out where I would fit in best. So.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, Priscilla, I'm going to bring you up to stage to talk about, you know, what you majored in college and how did you pick?
Hey everyone, I think Megan and Francesca said it perfectly because I also echo and went through similarly what they did. I changed major 3 times. I think throughout high school and even middle school, my dream job was always to go into dentistry. Not sure why that was a dream job, but I was very determined, especially throughout high school, taking all the AP science courses and all the science possibilities that are out there. And it wasn't until like my first year of college, or even just like my first month, when I realized, okay, I don't think I want to continue taking science courses. It's just, I'm really pushing myself, but it's not really drawing out my natural strength. So I started thinking more about other options. I felt like business would have been a great fallback since I like talking to people and learning about new trends. And actually, similarly to Megan, that was when I pivoted into economics, since I figured it was a very general study that can allow me to go into different parts of business. But after a quarter or 2 quarters, I realized it was really hard for me to push through because I wasn't genuinely interested in a lot of the subjects and the math that came along with the econ courses at my school. Throughout that time, I was still doing my general courses, which means it's like, I think in your first 2 years where you're able to take courses outside of your focus. So it could be psychology, sociology, history, and so on. And one of my courses happened to be in sociology. And I realized that I was so much more interested in sociology, which is essentially the study of people and their behavior and how history has shaped people's values and behaviors. So I think like after stumbling upon a few sociology courses, I realized that this is where my strengths naturally gravitate towards. I love learning about people. I love learning about history and how that shapes the present day. And that's what guided me into my major in sociology. And I think alongside that also guided me into my path in marketing. A lot of marketing has to do with understanding people, how people think, how they behave, what their values are. And I think that's always resonated with me throughout my studies in sociology. So I think, yeah, that's how I stumbled upon sociology. And I think Francesca also said it best. Your major does not always have to reflect on your career. Obviously, I didn't specifically pursue any work in sociology after, but a lot of the learnings I had from the courses I took really paved into my current career in marketing today.
Amazing. Yeah. I love how we're kind of building off each other, kind of resonating with a lot of what you're saying too as a recent grad. Yeah, so Rennie, we'll love to hear your thoughts too on what you majored in college and how did you pick? So bringing you up to stage. All right, we see you. Okay.
I think there's like these like muting unmuting problems that I'm having. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I actually studied finance in university. And you know, to be completely honest, I think all the three speakers have said what they said before me, and they probably said it way more eloquently than I'm ever going to say it. Is that like I honestly didn't know what I was going to do in college, in university or college, whatever you want to call it. You know, like I said earlier, right? Like when I grew up, I wanted to play hockey, and that's all I really knew. I went to a sports school in high school where I actually trained and played hockey in high school. And basically, my issue was at the time the hockey players, the prototypical hockey players were 6'2", like 200 pounds, and I had not hit my growth spurt at all, right? So I was like 5 feet tall or whatever it was. So my chances of ever making it was really, really slim to none. I didn't get a full ride scholarship to any of the good schools in the US to play college hockey or anything like that. So, you know, I was kind of at a crossroads in my life. I had to decide what I wanted to do. And essentially, you know, the decision was that hockey was going to be something for fun. So I went to school, and I really actually had no idea what I was going to take, because like my dream was to like play sports. So, you know, kind of at the suggestion of my dad, he's a software engineer, and he's just like, oh, hey, like, you know, like maybe this might be something you're good at, right? Because like, you know, you're pretty good at like programming and math and stuff like that. So I started out actually in doing software engineering. I did that for a couple of years. I realized that I hated it. I couldn't stand it. It was just far too, I don't know. Like I needed more interaction with people, I think. So then I actually dropped out of school for a few years, actually, at that point too, for some personal reasons, and I actually just worked in sales and stuff like that. But eventually, I did go back to school because I am a kind of a big believer of completeness. And it kind of ate at me that I hadn't finished my degree. I certainly probably could have continued my career at that point, but like, you know, I just wanted to go back. So I went back, and then actually, funny enough, I started in marketing, and I did that for half a semester. And, you know, we had I would say less than stellar professor who really didn't prepare us for our midterms or anything, because like none of the material that he taught us actually was applicable to the midterm. And then, you know, it was really funny because every single student in his class actually dropped out of marketing after the midterms. So we all decided, we all had to figure out what we were going to do. So I actually went into finance and kind of stuck with it and finished my degree in finance. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up where I am. And you know, now I'm back working in marketing, which is kind of funny.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Really loved hearing that, you know, you were trying to pursue hockey as a kid, because when I grew up too, I wanted to pursue golf as a professional career because of my family. And so I definitely pivoted to the marketing world too. So I'd love to kind of hear that journey of yours. With that, we're going to pivot to our next question, and I'm going to bring the lovely Francesca back to stage. So Francesca, I know that you're currently an associate commercial marketing manager at T-Mobile. You talk a little bit about your experience wanting to potentially be a journalist in college, but just curious today, like, what does your job actually look like? Like, what do you do day to day?
Yeah, that's a great question, Leah. So I'll say it varies. No day is like the same day for my job. Today, I'll give you an example. We started with business review. So we just started, you know, just kind of laying out, you know, how is the business performing? How do we expect it to perform in the next couple of months with cash effect and stimulus payouts, and just kind of get an idea of what the baseline is, right? And then, you know, the products that we're about to launch, you know, how much growth do we expect those products to deliver, et cetera? Does that meet our quota? So we just had kind of like a business review meeting. But then after that, I'll have, for example, some days I'll have focus group days where I get to sit into focus groups and see customers in real life and see, you know, what their sentiments are, right? About just the current landscape, COVID, the recession, wireless, right? Are they even thinking about buying a new phone? So that's interesting. And then I'll probably spend some time, you know, writing product requirements for one of my projects. I'll also, part of my job too is to pitch my ideas and get funding, because a lot of the projects that I do require development work. And so I'll be in VP review meetings, kind of building my case, talking about why we should build this product versus another. And so I think it varies between just, you know, keeping a pulse on what's going on with the business, and also, you know, working on launching some products, as well as trying to get new products resourced, so then we can build them. So it's kind of like a combination, I would say, because, you know, different things that you build are in different parts of their life cycle, and so each day will be different. And I think that's what makes my job super exciting.
Very cool. Yeah, that detailed breakdown is helpful. The focus groups you mentioned are something that I know is really popular in marketing too. So I wonder if that will be mentioned in these other marketing roles too, and how important that is to listen to the customer voice. So with that, I'm going to bring Megan back to stage. So just to remind folks, Megan is an associate product marketing manager too at Google. So we'd love to hear just what does your typical day at work look like for you?
Can you all hear me? Sorry, it says that it's...
Yes, I hear you. We do hear you a little bit quiet again, but I think it's also the mic. So
Okay, sorry, it's like says that I'm not. Anyways, I'll just start. Yeah, so a typical day. Similar to Francesca, there's not really a normal day. I will say I am someone who's very structured and organized. So even amidst a lot of ambiguity and like no normal days, I try to create kind of some structure in that. So I usually start my day off usually like 2 hours or so in the morning, where I'm like, no one talk to me from like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. I mean, sometimes people will ping me and email me, but I try to have that as like my work block. So that's the time for me to really just like put my head down and just grind and get my to-do list off the ground and really work on my own projects. And so that's kind of like how I start for the first few hours of the day. Then after that, I'm like, let me look at my inbox, check my inbox, and we'll start responding to those. I also usually have about ranging between 2 to 4 hours of meetings per day, usually on like the upper end of 4, just because in my role, I actually run 3 different programs that are globally scaled. And so I work to create scaled customer content. So like for videos, I work on various pitch decks, I work on marketing and sales enablement. And so even, Francesca, you eloquently put it, like there really is no typical day, because a lot of it depends on the time of year it is. It depends if there's a huge event coming up where they need to create all of these decks. If we have a huge product launch coming up, maybe someone will come to me and be like, hey, we want to create a video with this customer on this certain feature. That being said, I will highlight one part of my job that I really enjoy, which is working on our vocal video platform. And so that is basically scaled videos. And with that, it's like exciting because I came from a humanities background. I didn't really know too much about video production, but that is a huge part of my role now, where people will come to me with like a narrative brief. They're like, hey, we want to do this kind of story with one of our customers and tell this angle and to do this, this, and that. And I'll like be sitting here and review their project proposal, look at their amplification plan, and figure out if it's a good story to tell. And it's just really engaging and exciting to be able to work with both internal partners, and then from there we actually pull in customers and work with them as well. And so I feel like I do internal and external, working with our customers and also fellow Googlers, and a lot of stakeholder management, which I enjoy. I just like love talking to people and creating content, and so that's a lot of what I do. And then I will say, for me, diversity, equity, and inclusion is super important. So I consider that as part of my job. And so I run a program called Community Conversations as well. And so with Community Conversations, we basically, I run these kind of like sessions where I'll like get a bunch of Googlers in my organization together, and we'll just talk about Black creatives and art. We'll talk about body positivity and all these kind of conversations. So yeah, that's my day.
Awesome. Yeah, that very packed, every day. But I love that you are focusing a lot on D&I and a lot of the programs that you're super passionate about that you're able to bring at Google. So it's great to see that overlap for sure. With that, we're going to bring Priscilla to the stage. So just to level set here, Priscilla is a product marketing manager at Selix Marketplace Analytics. So we'd love to hear, what does your day look like?
Yeah, definitely. Let me see. Okay, there. I always see the unmute button. I'm not sure. Okay, so Selix is an Amazon growth software, and as a product marketing manager, your day-to-days are pretty different depending on what the projects are happening, what's happening within like the projects. So I think for me, the key theme would be a lot of meetings and speaking with different types of people and different teams. So whether it's hearing new ideas from the design team or working with the product managers and engineers to implement a new feature, or even contributing feedback and new ideas to different marketing channels like social media or performance marketing or email marketing. I feel like throughout like the week, it's all pretty different, but the key theme is just meeting lots of different people and contributing your own strategies into the presentation that they share. I think that's like one focus on like what half of my week looks like, lots of meetings. I think the other half for me within product marketing, I work in a lot of industry research and also competitive analysis, especially at this current project that we're doing. At the moment at Selix, we're going through a rebrand, which essentially means we're taking the product values, mission, and design and kind of rethinking that on how we want to communicate in the next quarters. So how will the new designs look like? What communications and messaging do we want to share? So a lot of that, as we're prepping for the rebrand next quarter, consists of me doing a lot of research on industry trends. So like I said, Selix is in the Amazon industry bubble and e-commerce. So I've been looking through various Amazon advertising trends, looking through what our competitors are doing and how we want to make ourselves different than them. and also looking through different design ideas on how we want to communicate the new brand and look different within the market. So I think that's been a really fun project because it's been very creative. Within the rebrand, I get to work very closely with the design team and pitch new ideas to them, see how we want to stand out within this new market. So that's been a very exciting thing to do. I think for the most part, in my day-to-day, since it's so different, a way for me to kind of have the stability is honestly the first part of the day, where I go through my email, read through industry news, so seeing what's happening within the e-commerce space, keeping an eye on our competitors to make sure we're on track on what's happening with the market and sharing that with my teams. And that's typically what, like, I'd say my week to week look like, not just day to day. Amazing.
Yeah, there's a common theme I'm seeing that everyone's mentioning, that no day is the same in marketing, which totally agree on that one. So if you're a type of student or a person who loves to try new things and kind of put yourself in situations where you can have one day not look alike for another, that's definitely what marketing is all about. So Rennie, I'm going to bring you up to stage. Yeah, we'd love to hear just your experience as head of marketing of Vowel. You mentioned it's a startup as well. So if there's any experiences that overlap with what the other three panelists were mentioning, we'd love to hear if there's any similarities or differences to your day-to-day. You are on mute.
Am I still muted?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I think that Teams doesn't like my M1 Mac is the problem. I just Googled it. It is a compatibility issue. Anyway, my typical day is anything but typical, I would say. I think it's maybe it's easier to kind of say like the things that I'm responsible for and what I kind of think about and work on. Because each day is very, very different, right? Kind of like all the other speakers have mentioned. For me
looks like we had Rennie might have dropped. Is anyone else hearing Rennie speak? I'm seeing some head shakes. No. All right, we'll give him a couple minutes to rejoin. But with that, let's pivot to the next question. So Francesca, I'm going to bring you back to stage. So I'm going to bring you here. So yeah, Francesca, there's a question in the chat that I wanted to throw at you and Megan next. But there's a question regarding just, how did you find marketing really motivating you to continue working at your job? So like if there's any specific aspects that really inspire you about marketing and what you do at T-Mobile or motivates you?
That's a really great question. I think what motivates me the most is like building something. And I didn't realize that this would be fulfilling for me in college, and I actually was naturally doing it because in college I co-founded 2 different clubs. But I actually encountered this later on in my career. I realized, gosh, like I love to build things, right? And so I think what motivates me is knowing that this kind of concept and idea that we're working as a team to kind of refine and bake will eventually be out in the marketplace and people are gonna use it, right? And I think that's super exciting. And it's also really exciting to know that once you launch it, that's just the beginning. You've got to get customer feedback and iterate the product over time and make it better. And so like me, I think at the core of what motivates me is innovation in itself and just launching and building products that I know people are going to use, and my goal hopefully they'll love. And so that's really what motivates me. And I also get a kick out of creating new ideas and getting positive feedback on those things. So I definitely think that I'm in the right path just because I really enjoy what I do and I feel fulfilled after the day ends.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Francesca. Yeah, and I do see Rennie is back. So Rennie, I'm going to bring you back to stage. I know you are in the middle of sharing just, what does your typical day look like? So you can continue that. And Francesca was also answering a question in the chat, if there's any specific piece that inspires you or motivates you to continue working at your job. You can also loop that in too.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I'll try and be brief just in case I get booted again. So yeah, like my days are very atypical, I would say. So each day is kind of different. As the head of our marketing, a lot of kind of things that I kind of think about are at a high level. What does our marketing strategy look like, right? What are the right people I need to hire actually to build my team to achieve the goals that we want to achieve, right? We have pretty lofty goals that we've set as a startup where we want to be kind of by the end of the year, right? And what are the resources that I need to do that, right? And that's people, that's tools, right? That's partners within the company that I have, right? And how do I influence those other departments, right, to do the things that we need them to do, right? Because, as a product-led growth company, right, you have to really, really be smart about how you're influencing the engineers, right? Because you want them to be working on things that are valuable for our users, right? So spend a lot of time trying to understand our customers, right? I think our customers are super important, right? And there's a lot of things that I kind of do around that, right? So I conduct customer interviews. I set up surveys to talk to them. I do feedback panels and stuff like that with our users, right? And all of this is basically to really understand what's motivating them to actually use our product, right? And why they love our product so much, right? Because the whole goal as a product-led growth company is actually to build these champions within companies for us, right? And then they'll essentially go in and kind of proliferate our message throughout the organization, right? So those are the kind of things at a high level, kind of what I think about, right? And so in service of that, like the things that I work on is like building what marketing plan looks like, right? I have to figure out where do I allocate my budget, right? Do I put more towards paid spend, right? Performance marketing, right? Or do I hire a web design firm to help us actually rebuild our website? I think those are kind of the decisions that I'm thinking about, and those are kind of the problems I'm solving. I spend a lot of time in meetings, not just with my internal team, but with external teams too, right? Like who are partners that we want to build, co-marketing initiatives with. As of late, I've been spending a lot of time in interviews. I've been trying to hire an intern, so I spend a lot of time talking to college students that are looking for internship jobs, right? So those are kind of at a high level like things that I think about and that I'm working on each day. So each day is a little bit different.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rennie. It's cool to see the experiences you have working, at a startup compared to some of the more corporate tech companies represented here. Seems like it's really quick pace, a lot of things happening, a lot of meetings, a lot of people you're meeting. I love that you mentioned working with engineering and kind of getting them to buy in as well. So with that, we're gonna kind of pivot to the Q&A. We may mix some of our questions in there too. So Priscilla, I'm gonna bring you up to stage and just would love to hear your perspective on this specific question we received from a student or young professional, but looks like a student or recent graduate. So the question's a little bit long, but this person is a recent graduate from college. They majored in marketing. They completed their first social media internship last year and they learned a whole bunch from it. But yeah, it's really tough to find a position right now that's similar. And they're just wondering, like, what advice would you give recent grads who are looking for a new job in this season of COVID-19? I know a lot has changed. Right now, I think one of the struggles and one of the things that we're hearing from students is a lot of the job descriptions say, 5, 8, 10 years for an entry-level role. So just curious on your experience on how you navigated networking and finding a role. And I think what's really unique about your background is right now you're based in Berlin, correct? So how did you go about finding this role, also international, not in the US, which I know a lot of folks are also interested in hearing too. So feel free to kind of tackle that as you like.
Sure, definitely. So I can relate to the struggle of having to apply for jobs during COVID because I actually transitioned between my career a little bit. It was like late last year, mid last year, and it was just honestly really tough. The job market was super competitive, and I feel like for me, so I graduated about 2.5 years ago, so still fairly new and within like the product marketing world and also marketing. So trust me, I know what it feels like. I think the biggest advice that really helped me was honestly connecting with people from either my university or people that I have met through past internships or even my professors. I think meeting and talking to people that you've already established personal connections with and learning about resources and opportunities from them could be a way to hear of new ways or even get recommendations. That definitely helped me when I was looking for new opportunities both in Berlin and even considering Silicon Valley again. So really trying to like use my network, whether it's professors, teachers, friends, old coworkers, and really try to widen that net. That's the first advice. I think secondly, being active on social media platforms, whether it's LinkedIn or even I think Instagram, even like DMing various brands that I was interested in. That was also potentially helpful because I was able to really get like coffee chats and learn from them as well. I think off of LinkedIn, something that I used as a strategy was that when I would go to the jobs and the openings that they had, rather than just only applying directly on LinkedIn or the platform, I would look up the person, like a title of the job position plus the manager. So let's say I'm looking for like a social media role at like an ice cream company. I don't know, at Halo Top. Okay, so then it's like a social media coordinator at Halo Top. So not only would I apply for that, I would go into the search function and look at social media team lead or marketing team lead at Halo Top and see who it is that would be the hiring manager. And oftentimes when they have openings, they would personally post it on their LinkedIn, and you could see that through their profile. You could comment, hey, I just applied for this opportunity. I would love to learn more about it, or just at least make yourself known out there. I think that way you're able to stand out directly in front of the hiring manager, and they're able to see you and see that you've applied. So I think that was one tactic that really helped. I was able to get a lot of interviews just by commenting directly on the manager's thread. And I found that by looking at who the manager would be for that role. So that's one advice. I know this is getting a bit long. I think the second half of the question was how I was able to find a job abroad. Surprisingly, with Berlin, it wasn't too difficult. It really depends which country and city you're aiming for and the skill sets that you have. Thankfully for Berlin, they have a huge tech scene and tech community. And with my experience in previous tech corporate internships, I was able to attract a lot of interest within the Berlin startup scene. Additionally, Berlin does not require German. So I don't speak professional German, or at least at the time when I joined, and I was able to find a lot of opportunities just on LinkedIn. So that's the short version of the story.
Awesome. I'm also taking notes here too, because one day I would love to work international, because I lived in the Seattle area pretty much all my life and see a lot of opportunity to expand my experiences. So great to hear that experience. With that, Megan, back on stage, would love to hear just some of your thoughts around this question we got in the chat. So you mentioned that you changed your majors once or twice and kind of explored that. And so, what would you tell a student in high school who doesn't really know what major to pick in college and how they should be, thinking and preparing themselves for that conversation as a senior in high school.
Yes. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we do hear you.
Right. Okay. What I will say, I want to tag on to Priscilla's last question and give a little plug for some programs that, a lot of colleges, or not even colleges, these are national programs. There's one called SEO, there's another one called MLT, which is Management Leadership for Tomorrow. And these are professional development programs that are literally meant to basically expose college, usually pretty early on in your college career, about different professional opportunities. I actually met Priscilla at one back in 2016 called Jumpstart. And so I would also, that's another great way just to kind of start meeting people and learning about industries that you are interested in. But there's that. In regard to majors, I know one thing I will tell you guys that I wish that I was considering, I guess when I was a senior, really kind of take a step back and figure out what excites you, and try not to put yourself in a box and think okay, I want to, unless you're pre-med, that's different. You kind of have to study certain things. I knew in my mind, I was I know I want to go into business. So kind of walking into college, I was in order to do business, I have to do these consulting clubs. I have to do econ, even though I knew that I was really passionate about literature and stories and theater. And so I would really encourage you all to think about, what excites you, what makes you passionate, and don't drop that just because it doesn't make sense. I think so many people have questioned me and my judgment in the past because they're oh, you study this, or oh, you are very outgoing, you like theater, therefore you shouldn't be in business, you should just go be a teacher, or you should do this, this, and that. And if I listened to any of them, I wouldn't be where I am today. So honestly, do your best to learn about yourself, love yourself, figure out what you're passionate about, and then pursue that 100%, and know that there are just always going to be haters and there's going to be people who question you, but just as long as you
Megan, I think we had you freeze a bit, but we did catch all that, and what you had to say was, really energizing. And definitely, again, I'm taking a whole bunch of notes from all the great insights here. With that, I do want to bring Rennie back to stage. Rennie, I know me and you we met on Clubhouse. And so Clubhouse is a bit of a newer social platform. I'm not sure if folks or students here have actually heard about it. But going back to the question about networking, I found you through that voice social media app there. How do you recommend folks using the new type of networking opportunities out there to meet people? And I know you and I actually slid into each other's, I think, social Instagram DMs to connect about Now Spoke, right? So I think Priscilla mentioned a really unique thing that she left comments on hiring managers' LinkedIn threads. But again, how have you used Clubhouse to network and meet people during the pandemic?
Yeah, I think as far as networking goes, I think the other speakers like Priscilla and Megan gave really good tips. Clubhouse is something super new. I think everyone's just trying to kind of figure out how to actually leverage this platform for whatever it is that we want to do on it. And I think using new media is definitely a great way actually to network with people. So I can give you guys an example. On the side, when I was living in San Francisco, I used to do, I actually was shooting commercials for local businesses for fun. And how I actually kind of got into that was, I would just take pictures of people's food or coffee or whatever, right? And I would just tag the company. And I kind of did this at a couple coffee places in the Bay Area a lot of times because I love that place and I would go almost every day and I would just tag them. And then finally they just actually messaged me and they're like, hey, we kind of really love your stuff. Would you like to, help us shoot a commercial or something, like an Instagram story or something like that, right? So I think really actually being authentic and going out and kind of putting yourself out there really works. Leah, you and I connected purely because of the type of authenticity that you get on Clubhouse, right? Like, I don't think we would have connected otherwise, right? So, and I think the other thing is, like, when you're networking, you know, obviously there's something that you are you want out of the relationship, right? But also, like, I think it's key to remember, like, what is also the value that you're providing to the other person as well, or to the company, right? And I think that's how, you know, you really want to think about when you're networking, right? It's like, hey, what do I actually bring to the table, right? And, you know, a lot of you guys are pretty young, you know, in the audience, right? And I think one of the things that you can think about is like, hey, you know, like, I understand social media, right? Like, I get it, and this is like my jam. I live it, and this is my life. Whereas, like, you know, old guys like me, right? Like, I'm just trying to figure it out. So, you know, the value you provide is like, hey, like, showing me how to do this thing, right? So don't ever think that you don't have value to provide just because you're young. That's my advice.
Wow, definitely a mic drop moment there. Yeah, you know, for those, again, who don't know about Clubhouse, we'll definitely send out all the links that Megan also provided, some of the resources she shared out. What, you know, me and Rennie are talking about Clubhouse. It's currently only iOS in beta, but they're planning to open it up later too. But there again, there's a lot of new opportunities to connect with these platforms. With that, we do have 4 minutes left, so I'm going to bring Francesca back on stage and everyone else as well. But just to close out, just like a 60-second a tip that you would give the students, young professionals, like if they're interested in entering marketing, like what would you say to them? You know, you can think about your younger self or yourself that just day one on the job, something that you wish you knew, or just a tip that would be helpful to get in the field you're in today. So Francesca.
Yeah, my one tip would be to just let your curiosity unfold. You know, dive deep into it, read books about, you know, famous advertising giants, or, you know, join clubs, you know, go and explore some agencies, create commercials, just have fun, explore every aspect of it. Be open. Don't be stressed. You're not supposed to know at age 22 what you're going to do the rest of your life. At age 27, you might be questioning it as well. Just be open, have fun, let your curiosity just fuel you, and trust the process. You'll figure it out on the way.
Beautiful. And Megan, how about you? You're on mute. It's definitely Teams, but there you go. You should be good.
Amazing. Yes. Okay. I would just say, honestly, just kind of like piggybacking off of that, really explore. When I came into college, again, I came in thinking, I was like, this is what I want to do. This is like the narrow niche that I want to pursue. I'd really encourage you guys to take random classes, try to push yourselves in ways that you maybe at first, like maybe they're a little bit uncomfortable, because that's kind of where you find your true self and where you find your niches. Coming into college, I didn't even know that I could do marketing at Google. I really did not. And I just ended up doing research, poking around, talking to people. So I'd encourage you all to really, you know, think bigger even than what you're thinking now, and like do kind of the due diligence to do the research to discover more career paths and journeys and majors and clubs, and really try to expand all opportunities of growth. So that's what I would say.
Amazing, thank you. Priscilla, bringing you up to stage, what would you say? I think we have a mute as well.
Hi, is this better?
Yep.
Okay, so I think one advice that I wish I had known earlier, especially when I was like in my middle to high school self, would be to really think about like my strengths. Don't, like, without academics, without like jobs in mind, just think about like what you like to do. For me, I've always enjoyed talking to people, meeting new people, and trying new things. And think about within those strengths, what kind of value I could bring towards an organization or a team or a community. And I think from there, a lot of times the jobs will just naturally kind of come to you, because for me, marketing was never in my radar, but I leaned into my strength and what I really naturally like to do and explore. And I think by just fostering that curiosity and that strength, I was able to go into different opportunities. I think a really good example is honestly my side TikTok thing. I really love to cook. I love trying new recipes, trying new ingredients, and I think by just showcasing that on my channel and adding value on why I love these things, so many people were able to learn from me, and I think that naturally a lot of brands started to gain interest and want to partner with some of my videos without me fully just reaching out to them. So I think my biggest advice is to think about like what you really like to do, not what your parents tell you specifically or what society tells you, and just like focus on that strength and continue fostering the thing that you really want to grow yourself in.
All right, great. And last but not least, Rennie.
Yeah, I think, from my perspective, I would say like, if you really want to pursue, a career in marketing, like something that's pretty important, that I think is pretty important, is actually learning to understand data. Like more and more, marketing really needs to know and understand how to analyze data, how to interpret data, right? And you need to use data to make decisions, right? Like gone are the days where, marketers kind of made guesses as to like what aisles people are walking up and down in stores, right? Like now you know exactly what pages they're landing on, how much time are they spending on your website, right? Or in your app, right? Whatever the case may be, right? And at the end of the day, the more you understand how to interpret and collect data, right, and use data to make your decisions, the smarter and better you're going to be at those decisions, and the faster you're going to be able to move forward in this in the marketing world, to be honest. So don't be afraid to learn some level of like data science type stuff, right? Learning how to pull your own data, right? Like I can tell you that served me really well. I have an analytics background, right? And what's really helpful is, especially in like a startup like mine, right, is I can actually just go in and dig in and pull the data myself. I don't need to wait for an engineer to pull the data, so I can make decisions way faster than if you haven't. So yeah, my recommendation is like, don't limit yourself to just like marketing type classes if that's what you want to do.
Amazing. Well, with that, I know we're a couple minutes over, but I just wanted to say thank you so much to our amazing speakers for coming today, taking the time to connect. I know it's super late where Priscilla and Rennie are at, and I know Francesca, Megan, took some time out of their workday to speak with us too. So thank you so much for, speaking with us. I don't know if you can see you all here. Maybe this is Inception. Oh yeah, but here are all the speakers below. So thank you so much. With that, I just want to bump our NowSpoke website. It's www.nowspoke.com. It looks like this. You can see what's all about. Most importantly, you can go into Speakers 2021, and you'll see our lovely Francesca, Megan, Priscilla, and Rennie, and our upcoming speakers as well. And this is where you can actually go to their LinkedIn, and you're able to, follow up, thank them for being here, ask them other questions. This is a great time to implement some of the tips that and advice that they provided. So thank you so much for those who attended. We'll definitely send out a recap after. And to our speakers, really appreciate you today. This is our first time ever using Microsoft Teams live event. So thank you so much for being patient with us there. But with that, we're gonna wrap up. But thank you again for attending, and we really appreciate the speaker's time. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much.